Hi, this is Kasian, and it's time for our weekly conference call. We'll start with what's happening around the world. We still have a lot of uncertainty. This relates to the virus, it relates to geopolitical events, and the Dow is trading in the range of about 27.5 right now. The IPO market is hot, and the DEFI market is still hot. And as I just mentioned, everyone is keeping an eye on how U.S. elections are going to be affecting the market in the next few weeks. And as we know, there is a strong correlation to the crypto markets. But before we get into that, on the industry side, GPT-3 is operating on images. And that's not a first, but it represents significant progress in the field of AI and machine learning. If you've got a natural language processing, natural language understanding, and natural language generation system generating images, not just language. And even more importantly, the next big breakthrough in AI will be in language. And this is from the Harvard Business Review. And MIT Press also had something related in terms of how language language modeling and benchmarking of language models is not being focused on the right things today. That connects to breakthroughs. So if everyone's pointed in the wrong direction, there is going to be a handful of companies pointed in the right direction making breakthroughs. On the crypto side, we've got BTC trading in the range of around 10.5, 10.8, and we've got the standard hype cycles. They're almost happening on a weekly basis at this point in crypto. We don't pay attention to those. Otherwise, it's steady as she goes for us. On the corporate side, we have issued a PR, and the purpose of this press release was to communicate official updates to the public. We've also made a change to the site. We've made a modification to our mission statement, so you might want to take a look at that. And the COVID-19 link on our nav bar, that's been changed to biosciences to communicate our broadened focus, not just on infectious diseases, but all of life sciences, in this case, biosciences. On the engineering side, we have a strong focus on the DTK and the DDK. That is the Dataset Toolkit and the Dataset Development Kit, primarily for CERN. This week we're going to be focused on deliverables for CERN, and this would include natural language understanding datasets attached to current datasets they have, and the generation of clusters and visualizations for the purpose of establishing known and potentially unknown relationships, hidden relationships between particles. So it's exciting work for everyone, and it's also an exciting showcase for what our company can do in the area of AI and machine learning, datasets, discovery, hypothesis generation. And the DTK and the DDK, the DTK and the DDK, we also have a strong focus on those. They relate to a couple of customer deliveries at this point. And these deliverables are not wrapped up yet. So we want to make sure that we put a bow on those and attain complete customer satisfaction. We can then issue press related to the DTK, the Dataset Development Kit, and the Dataset Toolkit. On the customers, partners, and collaborators side, at this point, there are just too many to list. We're not going to go over all of them, so we'll talk about latest happenings. We were talking with Lambda Labs, and they are a Snowflake competitor, so another cloud provider that wants to compete based on data sets. We'll be working with them. We'll have updates as time goes on. We also talked with S&P Global. We talked with other groups inside S&P Global to determine what we can do related to two tracks that we have with them. The first track would be understanding all the data sources they have and establishing a menu, a customized menu for our company that we can then present to other customers, where they can choose data sources, where S&P Global and Vectorspace do a revenue share on each data source, as we charge 99 cents per data source, per data set, per update. We also talked about the S&P Marketplace, the S&P Global Marketplace, where they're going to be showcasing our data sets. We are preparing for that. Now that we have the CERN communication out to the public, this provides us with an excellent foundation for establishing the fact that we operate in multiple industries and are validated by the largest scientific institution in the world. We've had new customer signups. We've also had new partner targets arise. First, though, the partner targets. There's an app called Borsa. It was showcased on CNBC, and it's labeled as the Spotify for earnings calls. You can find any earnings call you want. So for our traditional market players, that would be interesting, and it would also be an interesting deal for this company. So we'll be reaching out to them. We'll also be reaching out to one of our old Robinhood contacts. We were in contact with the chief operating officer there at one point. He's no longer with the company, so we'll see how far we get there. Then we also have additional customers, and these customers are turning out to be a bit more serious. They are larger customers on the institutional side, and this is when things change. This is when our order book changes in terms of the bid side and the ask side, and in terms of trading in size, larger lots. So we will update the public on customer activity and revenue, and as we have communicated previously, a portion of that revenue, 50% of it, goes to buy orders on the open market. And every investor that comes into the company, whether it's a large asset management company or a smaller individual or a small firm, we are going to be working with them on a case-by-case basis. And that means that we are going to negotiate the amount that they pay, the minimum amount per month that they pay for data sets, in addition to the fact that at least two of them this week have mentioned that they might be interested in being primarily an investor in the company. We are raising a small round, $2.5 million, and they want to complete that round. We also have another group that wants to complete the round. It looks like we're going to go with the investor that is not only going to be the investor but also the customer. So I did want to mention or reiterate that every investor doubles as our customer. On the HR side, we are looking for more engineers as usual and interviewing. In fact, we've got an interview tomorrow for one. On the legal side, that's also steady as she goes. On the exchanges side, we are waiting to hear back, but at the same time preparing with the CERN release, but primarily preparing with a communication from one of our large customers, and large defined by multi-billion, in terms of having them communicate to the world that they're distributing our data sets based on a revenue sharing agreement, that we're the best thing since sliced bread, basically, and how can an exchange turn us down when we want to be listed freely. On the IR, PR, and Marcom side, we'll now have our customers involved with case studies, press releases, announcements from their side, not just our side. And we'll have announcements related to the Dataset Toolkit, which customers are using those, defined by their, or whether or not we can legally disclose, defined by their agreements. And of course the Dataset Development Kit. Other than that, we are going to hold off on any PR. That's actually quite a bit there. Any one of our partners can, or customers here, can go ahead and give us a date on when they're going to release an announcement from their side. We don't have that date yet, but we do anticipate getting it real soon here. You know, we could say another couple of weeks, we could say a week, we could say 3 weeks. We know, though, that inside of 3 weeks, something will be announced by one of our larger customers. And in this case, it's a customer/partner where revenue sharing agreement is involved. But we have lots of irons in the fire, and we just keep adding them, or they keep adding themselves at this point. Next, we have questions from the trader base. The first question is, what can you tell us about quantum ML? Would a company that provides quantum ML be a threat to Vectorspace? So quantum machine learning. Well, it would certainly be better than DNA computing, and I think that's the closest we have gotten in terms of being able to do nonlinear calculations, a little better than we do them today. But nonlinear calculations are what quantum computing is all about, and no one really knows how to fully leverage quantum computing. So that is part of the answer. And the other part of the answer is that quantum computing would only benefit Vectorspace. The faster we can process data sets, the better. Right now we process some data sets in under a minute, some we can process in under a second. But there are some data sets that are very large that can take up to a week to process, even with just updates. Those are very high-end, expensive, high-quality data sets. And we would love to be able to take a week and crunch it down to a second, and that's what quantum computing would enable us to do. So it's certainly not a threat. It's about your algorithms. It's about the calculations involved and how you actually leverage and use the hardware you have access to and software. The next question is, will the buyback metrics be shared publicly? It would be a good idea to understand how it works. Yes, they will be shared publicly. The name of the customer, in most cases, will not be shared, as most customers today are in the financial markets and black boxed and require confidentiality for obvious reasons. And the next question is, when can we expect revenue data? That would be on par with companies that we imitate best of breed from, and these companies report quarterly. However, you will find it's very easy to do a search on this. If you do a search on revenue guidance and quarterly earnings, quarterly reports, 2020, most companies have, and most institutions and analysts that monitor these public companies have essentially written off 2020 and have not provided any earnings guidance for obvious reasons. So that's something that everybody needs to pay attention to. The crypto markets are not separate in this way. They are affected by global events and economies. And lastly, on the strategy side, we are preparing to be positioned. We're preparing VXV to be positioned as a trading vehicle inside thematic investment baskets. So inside themes related to data. And data is one of the largest themes. You can't really do a search for the word data. It's like doing a search for the word Google. Data sets are the refined version of raw or unstructured data. Data sets are part of every ML, every machine learning, every artificial intelligence operation today in every industry. That means that if themes are created related to data sets, machine learning, predictions, predictive analytics, business intelligence, visualization, data interpretation, hypothesis generation, discovery, scientific discoveries of all kinds, data sets are involved, and Vectorspace will be there as part of that basket. That's how this company is designed, and it's also designed to produce and monitor baskets like these. So we're in a pretty unique position, and we're going to leverage our unique position. And that would include adding additional institutional customers. Some of these institutional customers are going to be investors with requirements, having their models requiring them to take positions in quality artificial intelligence and machine learning cryptos. And we are at the top of their list. And we know that because we have been communicated to by a few different groups that have been looking for artificial intelligence and machine learning and data-oriented cryptos. Truly data-oriented cryptos and truly artificial intelligence-oriented. And they are hard to find. So that's why, if it's a requirement to diversify into crypto and to diversify into sectors of crypto within the artificial intelligence sector, we aim to be the leader. One of our primary goals, of course, is to make it comfortable for traditional market traders, the millions of them, trading all kinds of popular trading vehicles to, of course, trade VXV. We want them to feel comfortable that Vectorspace is a company partnered with a company that they happen to be trading right now. For example, Tesla. Tesla is a company that just recently announced they're going to get into the GPU game. They're going to offer compute as a service, similar to Amazon or AWS, similar to Google Cloud, similar to Azure, similar to Snowflake. And this means that they're going to need to compete with the likes of Amazon and Google and Microsoft. And they're going to have to compete the same way they do, and that's based on data sets. So we anticipate doing a data set distribution deal with Tesla. We've reached out to them, and we're waiting to hear back. And we will keep people updated on that. We'll keep the public updated, and we will add companies like that to our list of companies that we enable in terms of data sets. We enable to compete and power not just their own internal AI operations and machine learning operations, but those of their customers. So that's all that we have today. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to post them online. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next week.